This is a video guide on how to use the battle matrix on GoBattleSim on GamePress. So recently I did a Great League analysis, and in order to get the simulation data for that analysis, I had to go back and forth on the PvP simulator on GoBattleSim, doing specific matchups with different move sets, using different shield strats, and then entering all that data one by one into a spreadsheet to find out what the best picks are in the Great League. Now, obviously, doing something like that is extremely time consuming and definitely prone to human error. There could be a faster way, and there is. The math god Biowpn, developer of GoBattleSim, has created the battle matrix. Using the battle matrix allows you to get matchup data for a whole bunch of different Pokemon, fighting a whole bunch of different Pokemon, and you can see who's winning and who's losing these battles. You can also use the battle matrix to get information on one Pokemon's matchup data, seeing what fights it does well in and what fights it does poorly in. And then how you use that data is up to you with how you want to shape your Great League, Ultra League, or Master League analysis. So let's get into the matrix here. So to access the battle matrix, you got to go to the Tools tab and go to the battle matrix. As simple as that. And you'll be confronted with this code entry. Right, so to use the battle matrix, you have to type in the Pokemon's name, then a comma, their fast move, comma, charge move number 2, comma, and then you can either put in their level and different IVs, or you can delete all that and just go by CP if you're doing a Great League or Ultra League analysis. And then strategy 2. Strategy 2 determines how you're doing the shield strats. There are 3 different shield strats that you can do. You've got 0, 0, which is to use 2 shields. You've got 0, star, which is to use 1 shield. And then you've got star, star, which is to use no shields. You want to put quotations around it because if you have the comma, then the code will read it as a comma. So if you have the quotations, it'll be its own kind of unit. Just some annoying coding thing going on there. And yeah, so you type in the Pokemon's name. Let's say you want to know how good Cresselia is. So it's using Psycho Cut and Moonblast and Future Sight. It's got 1500 CP because this is the Great League Fools. And we're going to use just the 1 shield strategy. So we want to see stuff that fights Cresselia. Well, let's see how Umbreon's doing against it. And you can also put in named rows and columns so you can pay attention to what the Pokemon are. You run it, and then you get this matchup information. So you can take this information, you can put it into a spreadsheet. I like to use Google Sheets. And then bam, now you know, these 2 numbers are just inverted, that Cresselia fighting against Umbreon will lose because it's a negative number. And Umbreon fighting Cresselia would likely win because it's a positive number. So that's a pretty good start. But what if we want a lot of data? This is a little data, right? Well, to make things go a little bit faster for myself and benefiting onto you, so it goes faster for you, I put in a whole bunch of Great League Pokemon with all this stuff already pre-done. And then this column is the strategy, and then this is just the strategy and the Pokemon information contracted. So if you copy paste this, there'll be a space, and you have to delete all those spaces. This just contracts it for you so you don't have to worry about deleting spaces. So then you can copy all these guys and paste it into GoBattleSim and then get all that information right away. The benefit of having this column here separated from that information is instead of doing the 1 shield strat, I could do 2 shields, and then I could just grab this and copy paste it onto all these, and then bam, now all of them are doing the double shield strat, and I can just copy paste that right away. Definitely saving a lot of time there. Now, right now, this is sorted by type, and I just picked a bunch of Pokemon in the Great League that I felt were doing well. I also have a meta blend set where it's just concentrated on some of the better threats if you just want to focus on the better threats. And this sheet right now only has Great League Pokemon. Over the weekend, I'll try to get Ultra League and Master League information on the spreadsheet. But yeah, this sheet is available. Link in the description, and there'll also be a link on GoBattleSim, so you could easily access this. I highly recommend going to File and then making your own copy of it. So you just click Make a Copy, and then that will enable you to edit the strat here, and then you can also edit the movesets directly on here, add in your own Pokemon that you want to take a look at to make that go a little bit quicker. So the way that this could work out for you for doing a full meta-analysis is you could just grab all these Pokemon, like so, go to GoBattleSim, bam, enter them in, click run, and then you get all of this data. And you can't even read this. It's ridiculous, right? But if you copy it, and you go to your spreadsheet, and you paste it all in, well, bam, now you got all this. Now it's just numbers. Maybe you want to read it a little bit more easily. Just highlight all these cells here, and then you can add conditional formatting. Go to color scale, and then set percentile to number, and then set that number to 0. There might be a more intelligent way to do this. I'm only so good with spreadsheets. And then hit done, and then blammo. So if you're reading from the the left to the right here, you'll see that the green matchups are the matchups that the Pokemon are generally winning, and then the red matchups are the matchups that they're losing. Or if you go by column, then the red matchups are the matchups that the Pokemon is winning in, and then the green matchups are the ones that they're losing in, if you go by the columns. So yeah, this is a quick way to just get a ton of data on all these different Pokemon and see how they're doing in the meta. Now, there are other uses for the battle matrix. You could use this to hone in on one particular Pokemon or another and see what they're particularly doing in the meta. For example, it's nice to get all this information, but if you only want to know about just how good Octillery is, for example, Mudshot and Gunkshot, the fastest trash can thrown in Pokemon Go, well, fortunately, BioSwag, the math god, has made some changes to the battle matrix to expedite that kind of idea there. So if we go back to the meta blend and we copy Octillery, and then I put Octillery at the top of this spreadsheet, and then I go to the row start, row end, column start, column end, then we can get that information. So row start, I'd go with 1, so it starts at 1. Star means it goes on forever. And then for the columns, if you have it start at 1 and end at 1, then you would only get the first Pokemon, so this guy, all of their matchup data. So you hit run, and then bam, you hit copy. Oh yeah, and then this information, you don't even have to copy paste into a spreadsheet. You can just scroll on down, and then the negatives are the matchups that the Octillery is winning in, and then the positives are the matchups that the Octillery is losing in, because it's, Altaria versus Octillery. Altaria looks like it's losing. Skarmory versus Octillery looks like Skarmory's winning. Or you could copy and paste it into a spreadsheet. And bam, Octillery's battle information. Now, you will notice that it does do Octillery versus Octillery, and then it auto sets it to 0, and that's because it's a perfect mirror matchup. This is hard-coded in, so if you were to have an Octillery at the bottom here, it would do a matchup where Octillery fights Octillery, and then depending on how GoBattleSim does the coin flip, since you're using the same exact moves against each other, that would determine who wins or who loses. But when they're in the same row, same column, then GoBattleSim just sets it to 0 because it's a mirror matchup. It's kind of silly, right? So you can just delete that row if you want to. But a nice thing that GoBattleSim has going on, you can set the starting row to 2. So you just put in 2, and then when you run it, you'll see that it cut out that first Octillery versus Octillery matchup, so then you don't have to, delete it yourself. Now, what's cool about this too is that this is a single shield strategy. Of course, we have the option of using no shields or just using one shield. So by getting a single column like this, we could go back to our Great League sheet, go back to the meta blend, and let's say there's no shields involved. Well, then you just put a star on, so it's star star instead of 0 star. Paste all that in, so you can grab all this. Go back to here. Punch in all that information again. Make sure you update the target Pokemon's information as well. And then because I just want the data to punch into a spreadsheet, I'm going to get rid of the names, can run that information, and now you just get the numbers here. Copy that. Go back to the Great League sheet I got. Go to this auxiliary information, and you can paste that in. And now this is 1 shield, and this is 0 shields. So by going back and forth like that, you can get this information in pretty handedly. For example, you could do more dynamic things with this too. Like let's say auxiliary has a shield advantage. So the auxiliary is using 1 shield and the opponents are using no shields. You can also get data on that. Go in here, and then you can just paste that all in. You can be like shield this for shield disadvantage, and then it's just showing you how auxiliary is doing across the board. Looks like with no shields, that gunk shot auxiliary is able to best the Typhlosion, so that's pretty spicy to know. Looks like Metacham needs to watch out for the auxiliary. Gonna bring the trash can of doom on it. We're seeing negatives across the board. So yeah, just a quick way to grab that kind of data, learn what the best and worst matchups are for some specific Pokemon, or do your own sort of meta blend to see who's performing well in the meta. For example, there are some niche specific metas. At the time of making this video, the Silph League is having the Boulder Cup, where it's a Great League tournament setup where you use the Great League and you can only use rock, fighting, ground, and steel type Pokemon. Well, that limits the meta. Other Pokemon are going to shine. So what I did is I took all the best rock, fighting, ground, and steel type Pokemon that I could think of, put them into the battle matrix, put out their information on here, and then put on the conditional formatting to see who's doing well and who's not doing well. And then with the color coding, I can see that, going by column, Pokemon that have a lot of green would be bad. For example, Nidoqueen isn't looking so hot here, right? So then you can kind of cut those Pokemon out as you go along to try to whittle down the meta to something, a little bit more concise. See, this is looking more concise. This is getting rid of all the bad Pokemon, if you will. And then you can look at the specific matchups and kind of scratch your chin at why some things are losing in some matchups and why they're winning in other matchups, and then, go from there. Now, one thing I will let you know is that there are some hang-ups with the battle matrix that you should be aware of. And these type of hang-ups are unavoidable and can influence the matchups greatly. One obvious problem with using the battle matrix is it has the coin flip. Basically, if your Pokemon and another Pokemon are able to launch their charge moves at the same time, well, in Pokemon Go and in the simulator, somebody's going to use their charge move first. So whoever wins that coin flip will get to use their charge move first, and if that results in you winning or losing, well, that's only one win or one loss. That's only happening one. You only got your one chance of victory there. And in something like the battle matrix, it will just tell you who won or who lost that battle. It's not going to tell you that there was a coin flip involved. So that's something that you should be aware of when using the battle matrix here. And if you use the GoBattleSim simulator itself and you check the battle log, then you can more easily identify those kind of hangups. Another hangup that the battle matrix has is that, and the simulator in general, so the problem that the battle matrix has and GoBattleSim has, that really can't be avoided either, is that it will always choose the high damage per energy attack, even if it would result in a loss. The best example is Heatran versus a lot of things. Heatran has Fire Blast. Fire Blast is a really high DPE move, but it takes forever to charge Fire Blast, to the point where your opponent's going to get multiple charge moves off and very likely knock you out, causing Heatran to lose matchups that it would otherwise win if it were to use a low energy cost attack such as Stone Edge. So using the simulator itself here will help you identify things being too slow, or if you already know that a move is too slow for a Pokemon to use it well, or to use it well in a specific matchup or a mass simulation like the Battle Matrix, then maybe you should just not include that move on the Pokemon, and it could result in some better simulations. And a third problem that the Battle Matrix has when you're doing the Great League and the Ultra League simulations by CP is which level and IV combination it picks. Talking to Biowpn about it, when you just set it by CP, like we've done in the Battle Matrix here, like setting it by CP, 1500 CP, that's really easy and convenient because then you don't have to memorize all the different level and IV combinations. but now you're relying on the computer picking the right IV combinations, right? And a lot of these matchups can be pretty narrow, like you only beat your opponent by like 9 HP. Well, if you were to get a low defense IV, or your opponent were to get like a high attack IV, like higher or lower than what would be reasonable for most people, then it could result in you like missing a defense breakpoint, and now all their fast moves are doing 1 more damage, and because their fast moves are doing 1 more damage, well, that's causing you to lose. So that is something else that you should be aware of when doing the CP one. Now, a way to circumvent this is to find out the levels and IV combinations that you want to use for the simulator, and that's on you to do. Sounds like a major headache for myself. Just something that you should be aware of, though, when using the battle matrix. So a way that I get around these problems is, just for a good example, we've got all these simulations I did for the Boulder League, and then let's say I did these specific sims on Gliscor. Well, in doing this, I was able to highlight some problems that I was noticing with the matchup data with Gliscor versus, you know, these other meta Pokemon. So then I made a second spreadsheet. You could also do this all in the same spreadsheet. You don't have to make a second one, where I did specific simulations using GoBattleSim itself, not the battle matrix, and going back and forth in those matchups. So I ran specific simulations using the Go Battle Simulator, not the battle matrix, to see what was actually going on, and then I highlighted some things in yellow. So if they're highlighted in yellow, that's signifying to me that there was either a coin flip situation going on, where the coin flipping one way or another could influence the outcomes, or a situation where IVs could play into it, where it's just ever so slightly a victory or a loss, and if you were to miss or make a break point, then that could also influence the outcomes. And then also looking at situations where faking out your opponent by using a low energy cost attack and baiting a shield and then following up with a high damage per energy move that has a higher energy cost could also result in a victory. So by putting in the yellow there, that highlights to me that, you know, the matchup isn't 100% guaranteed for either of the Pokemon. That's something that the battle matrix can't do, and that's something that the outputs from GoBattleSim can't necessarily do themselves. It's something that you have to investigate on yourself. And then I also highlighted some stuff in purple, and that's just me identifying areas where Earthquake could possibly be better than using Aerial Ace and Night Slash, which is the moveset I was using for Gliscor here. So yeah, just highlighting to you guys some inherent problems with using a simulator for PvP. It's not really a problem more so than it is just how PvP works in Pokemon Go. Like the coin flip situation, you really can't avoid that. And you can't avoid a simulator telling you who won the coin flip for the simulation. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, being aware of these issues can help you get even more accurate data for your Pokemon. But if this is too much work for you, then just going with the simple outputs should be good enough. So that is the guide on how to use the Battle Matrix tool on GoBattleSim on GamePress. The thing I wanted to get across is just how to use the Battle Matrix, the different ways you can use the Battle Matrix, and how to circumvent the hang-ups that PvP simulations inherently have, especially when using the Battle Matrix, so you can get even more accurate data on PvP. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. If there's any features you'd like added to the Battle Matrix, comment below and let me know what you'd like added, and I'll pitch it to Biowpn. And if you like this information on the Battle Matrix and you want to see more like it, maybe you want to see my own personal analysis on the various leagues, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. If you're curious, I do this at the end of all my YouTube videos.